biggest challenge that outfitters have generating revenue during their off times is that they haven't tried anything new. I think that a big part of growing a company and kind of going back to the first episode of Change is Growth, which is our most popular episode, I think that if you're unwilling to try new things or even try something that may not work, right, is kind of the key to opening up those revenue streams. So Hunter, you guys kind of went through this process. What changed for you guys that made you decide, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to run pheasant hunts?
Yeah, I mean, it even goes back a little further than that. When we first started, it was groups of 4, groups of 6. I mean, we were trying to fill all of our, we call them our prime dates. That was the first goal. Just fill the prime dates, not even the dates that aren't like 100% all mallards, all big Canadas. Just fill those dates. And we stepped that off and we said, okay, we did this now. Now it's September, teal season before Nebraska changed the dates was like, anywhere from like September 5 to 7 to 9 through like the 16th to 23rd. I don't know, somewhere in that middle 2 weeks of September. And so we would always take that date and we would do teal and dove. And then we would have a break all the way until October 22nd, or it used to be 22nd. And then we'd have a 8-day break between that and goose season. And so we wouldn't book anything there too, because it wouldn't be goose season. And then you step all of that, the prime even hunting didn't start till like, the prime mallard hunting was like November 15th. So we would book from November 15th to end of season. And then we would only book the reverse. We weren't booking full Canada season. And then we only booked prime snows. And so the first thing we decided was, well, we've got these clients in, and we've got all these dates filled, but we've got all this space, all these gaps. We don't have revenue here, and it's costing us money. We're paying employees, we're paying for our lodge, we're paying for stuff that's costing us money, and we're making $0 back from it. So what we then did is, waterfowl wise, of course, if you don't have good hunting or good spots for early dates, for dates that are not necessarily all mallards, where it could be a little tougher. If you don't have good spots, don't try to book those dates. I don't want to like misconstrue that with anybody, that just fill what you can because you can fill it. Fill it because you have the ability to provide the same amount of success, happiness, everything to your clients. So we had to find the property. We got the property to do all that. And then we booked, that first year we had the prime dates filled. We got the new property. And even in that year, we called an audible during that year, and we booked into duck season. We actually booked our early zone, our rainwater basin zone before the river even opened. We booked clients then too, and we were able to have good hunts because we had good property. And we were able to book Canada goose clients. We got property to book goose clients in the heart of the honker migration and not just the reverse. And so after all that year, we audibled mid-year, and we were able to cap up and change those gaps and make money there. And that's what stepped us into this next year, to which we filled everything front to back this last season. Just every single date we could, we were filling it. And we had the property, we had the land. But then, we got to the end of this last year. Well, I guess we got to about really December or January of last year. And I'm forecasting the revenue for next year. I'm making all of our analysis, our budgets, our cost incomes, all of our accounting stuff, getting prepared for the next year. And I'm looking at the calendar and we're going, man, we don't have anything in early October. We stopped doing early duck because we got into a drought. We didn't have anything into October. No, speaking of that, my phone just said we got a booking right now. Cool. You like to see that. You like to see when those randomly pop up. Anyways, back that up though. We had all these gaps, and we're like, we got to make some money here because we're just sitting in a way with our thumb up our ass, not doing anything at this time, and we're paying all these employees. Let's jump on it. And so, what we did is we added pheasants, which they're supplemented birds. It's on a CSA, a controlled shooting area, so we can shoot them from September 1st until April 1st. And we have to release X amount of birds out there. We release X amount of birds per client to make sure we always have a healthy population of birds to hunt. And the way Nebraska state law, or not Nebraska state law, I think it's the CSA regulations or whatever it is it deems the bird wild after 36 hours. So we like to get our birds out. We like to get a good population started out there that are considered wild according to the CSA. And then, of course, we'll supplement in per group too. But we found out that everyone loves pheasant hunting. I mean, it's very, I don't want to say easy because it's not easy, but it's very simple. There's not a lot less scouting. There's a lot less,
Mm-hmm.
like work you would find in waterfowl and pheasants. And it's very easy to control what we can control, like the lodging, the meals, all of that. If you can control all that perfectly, you can go pheasant hunting too and have I shouldn't say a guaranteed success rate, but a pretty high success rate that you're going to shoot a good amount of birds and have a great hunt. It's just a great way to fill that gap. And then on top of that, we added doves and prairie dogs instead of teal and doves. We did both, so we could go from September 1st all the way through September hunting doves and prairie dogs. But since they changed the teal season to September 1st anyways, that kind of went out the window. But we had pheasants to fill the gap from the 15th of September until the 26th of October. And then in March, from the end of snow goose till the beginning of turkey, well, I guess April 1st till April 1st, we have a gap there that we can fill with pheasants now. And then we also have a couple gaps in February and a couple gaps in January that we can also fill there. And now, all of a sudden, from September 1 until the end of turkey season, we can be making money every single week off clients in some way, shape, or form. And that is how we felt like we could maximize our revenue. And then on top of that, with the addition of our new lodge, being able to hold up to 15 clients, we were able to run doubles, double waterfowl, double pheasant, double everything, which also, upfront cost involved there, but it allowed us to change and grow into what we are now. And it's been extremely beneficial for us and a lot more valuable for our time and our money.
So how'd you decide on pheasants? Where'd you come up with that? And then what was that process like getting to where you were able to do that?
So pheasants is you have to first, decide what dates you're going to run. You have to go find your CSA. The CSA application in and of itself is a very difficult thing in Nebraska, at least, because you can have it's like one or two per county or something like that. But you can only have one or two per county, and maybe it's an acre allotment. It's one of the two. But basically, you cannot have very many in one county. And so trying to find, there's quite a few of them in Nebraska. So getting that, the paper trail, the paperwork, everything has to be so finite in there. All the way down to you have to have a sign every 100 yards. You have to have, all your birds have to have a band. You have to have a log of every bird released, every bird shot, whatever. Top to back, it's very difficult. But once we got the CSA, we then had to find the birds. And, pheasants aren't exactly easy to find suppliers. So you had to find the suppliers, and then you had to put the deposit down, which is 50% of the bird for when you bought them, and then you pay for the other 50% as you pick them up. So we spent $67,000 on pheasants this year, so we had to put up that much money up front first, and then the CSA only cost probably about $3,000-4,000 after everything was all said and done. But after you got all of that lined up, until you had the birds guaranteed, the CSA locked, or the CSA at least picked out. I think we just got another booking, actually. That's wild. After we had all that stuff picked out, then we start booking pheasant clients. That was the hard part, is you can't start booking until you have all that locked in, because you don't want to guarantee hunts to people when you don't have all that set up. And so once we got to that point, then we were able to start booking.
So going and setting that up, obviously it's expensive. The upfront cost of the pheasants is expensive in itself, but you are just now doing the pheasant hunts. You don't have a book of clients that you're working off of. And so I think a lot of outfitters going and taking this next step, because it is a upfront expense to do this. That's why they're not changing, because it feels like a gamble. How did you make sure that it wasn't a gamble when you did this, that it was something you're going to be able to be successful in?
To be honest with you, part of it was you have to trust your team. You have to know that, Justin's going to get that CSA locked in. I'm going to find the pheasants. And then after we both do that, Grant's going to book the clients. But on top of that, the security of it was you have to be able to spend money. For example, and you have to be able to adapt too. For example, we spent a pretty good chunk of advertising. Probably, I bet we spent $6,000-7,000 on advertising to book a lot of these clients. And the bigger thing we found out actually is pheasants are very easy to retain rebookings for, because when you're hunting, mostly released pheasants, it's pretty easy to shoot a bunch of them. And it's pretty easy for most outfitters to do that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you take an outfitter, you have yourself a nice lodge, good meals, good cook, and you're killing all your pheasants. Why wouldn't you come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you
Yeah.
take all the outfitters in South Dakota and Nebraska and Kansas that do that, and they have those high success rates, and they do all that. It's hard to get clients to want to go elsewhere. And then
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, price matters. We started off priced 2,000, 2,100, something like that. Didn't work. It didn't
It's
work.
too
You
much.
had to. It was too much. You had to. You didn't have. We didn't have credibility. We didn't have. We were not built up for that yet. So we had to lower our price, and we did. And then we started filling dates, pretty fast. But it the bigger thing is you have to adapt to that. If your prices aren't working, try something different. If your sales technique isn't working, you have to try something different. But the bigger thing also is you can't get complacent. You can't give
Mm-hmm.
up. You can't go, oh, this sucks. It's just not working. I'm not going to do it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a big difference overall in what outfitters continue to grow and which ones, stay the same, right? And I understand that without change complicates things, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But trying new things and changing the way you're doing things is like a fundamental business principle. Like it's cross industry. It's literally whether you're a small business HVAC company or you're Apple, right? Like if you don't change the way you do things in a deliberate way, which you're trying new things and you realize it's fine if it doesn't work out, because that's kind of like what business is all about, right? Like if you don't take risks, how can you expect reward? And I think there's a lot of outfitters out there that struggle with that. Well, I've taken risk before, and now it's time to enjoy the fruits of my labor, right?
Yeah.
But that can
Yeah.
only get you so far.
Yeah. I mean, for us too, even in our own way, we've kind of hit that place of where we want to reap a little bit. Like we still want to grow, but like this next year, for example, our business plan this next year is I'm not buying more land. I'm not buying another lodge. I'm not buying, we're not buying anything big. We're not buying a container of decoys from the factory. We're not taking all those big expenses on, and we're going to actually go to run. We're not really going to open any more dates. We might open a few more pheasant dates. That's about it. And we're gonna smoke basically. We're gonna just run and go and try to. We're cutting our expenses by about 200 grand this next year just because of all the stuff we're not buying. But our income's going to be about the same, if not higher. We're still filling dates this year. I don't know where our income's going to land for sure, but we're going to be able to make, obviously probably about the same as this year, if not more. We always make more. It seems to be so, but we're going to be cutting our expenses by a couple hundred grand. So we're hoping to pocket basically. We're going to just kind of, I don't want to say it's not getting complacent, but we're going to breathe for a second and we're going to get stocked up for our next big growth cycle. We're more like, you're on the downtrend of the growth cycle where you're getting prepared for the next one. And, but that doesn't mean we're not trying to grow ourselves. It means we're not trying to get out there and overstep we don't want to overstep now. We're in a good position. We want to run with that.
I think to that point, I wouldn't necessarily say hey, just because next season I'm not going to be I guess foot on the gas looking for just new revenue opportunities where I'm spending more capital. You are in a sense changing. You are hey, let me take a step back, and it's not out of fear or anything like that. It's because you know the trajectory of your business. You know how much time you have. You don't have to rush it to where you get yourself in too much trouble or overextend yourself or really burn yourself out or your employees out. Have a season where you are getting that better cash flow and surplus cash, but then that gives you time, I think, to because you're not burnt out as the outfitter and the CEO that you are. It gives you a chance to open your eyes up to all the opportunities that you do have while you're stockpiling cash so that you can go in and reinvest into the business in the coming seasons.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. My biggest thing that I would tell a lot of outfitters is like know when to hold them. Basically, like
Right.
go grow, right? Everyone go go go. But like we've had our foot on the gas for 3 straight years now. I mean, full throttle, and
Hmm.
we've done good. We've made it. There was some times we didn't know if we were going to make it. Obviously, that there was some times where you were breathing a little heavier, looking at the bank accounts and stuff like that, right? We're getting out of that now. We're past that. And we're ready to breathe for a second and kind of catch our breath before we get back on the gas, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. And I
Yeah.
think that all outfitters should be okay with doing that. It shouldn't be if you shouldn't feel forced to have to go, 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 go all the time because that's how you burn out your guides. That's how you burn out your employees. I actually heard from a few people the turnover in the guide industry is about 3 to 4 years per guide if they even make it that far because they get so burnt out that they go, well, maybe I'm going to go to this other outfitter and I'm
Hmm.
going to try working with them instead. And then they get ran to their core and they get burnt out from that. And then either they go start their own thing so they don't have to do that or they leave the industry.
Hmm.
And we want to be like one of our goals for our business is to change that. I want to have long-term employees. I want to have guides that have free time. They have the ability to spend
Hmm.
time with their family, their girlfriends, whatever it is, to where they're not running 80, 100 hours a week, not sleeping, burning themselves to the core. I want to produce a happy work environment where they feel like they're getting time to breathe, getting some time off, not just go, 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 go all the time.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a seasonal. I mean, to use the seasonal reference, every business goes through seasons of reevaluating, and sometimes it's planning, right? And I think uh, that strategic planning portion of being able to take a step back and strategically plan out, okay, well, this is how we're going to grow in 2 years from now, 3 years from
Yeah.
now. And what you do now really sets you up for that. You can't make every decision based on it, but you
No.
can deliberately approach, okay, this is what's next. And our jobs as CEOs is to do that, right? Is to lead the organization in that direction. But also realize that the people matter the most, right? And if
Hmm.
your people aren't happy, then they don't provide a good experience for the customer, then you don't make money at the end of the day. You lose customers, whatever it may be, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Very fine line between like you can't overwork people and expect them to stay a long time if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Everybody there's so many people in this world that want to be a waterfowl guide, right? Give them 2 or 3 seasons of running 80 hours a week, sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night, and they don't want to be a waterfowl guide that much no more. They lose the passion. That's another thing. I've seen people lose their passion for hunting even because of it. They get that burnt out. And I'd never want to have one of our guys feel that way because that's
Hmm.
just, aside from the whole business and the whole aspect of that, you never want to see someone lose the passion and why we all do everything that we do. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, on that note, I think another thing is in the past, one thing I wanted to touch on really, because not all waterfowl guides are like you. I think we've all kind of understood that now at this point. The fact that you're able to go and find, like, hey, let's get a CSA. So during this, like, 6 weeks ish, that there's a dead period for most waterfowl guides, y'all have clients coming in. But in the past, historically, when that dead season came, I wanted to hear more in detail. You've kind of touched on it, but what are those pain points during that time where it's just dead? It, you have employees that
mhm.
might not have anything to do, and then just staying relevant even as a company during this like weird season of
Yeah.
it splitting up, just staying relevant on even things like social media.
Yeah, I mean, during those times, this year was actually a huge pain point. There, it was funny because we have 10 of us, and we had a week in September where we didn't have any pheasant clients booked because we ran out of pheasants. We booked all of our pheasants up before we filled all the date. We had more. We didn't. Be honest, I guess we didn't plan on filling all the dates full of doubles like we did, or we didn't plan on filling all of our dates full like we did, and we were booking doubles even, and so yeah, we ran out of pheasants. So we couldn't find enough birds to book these dates. We found some more pheasants that we're going to use to fill our spring dates now, which is going to be awesome. But we didn't have the birds, so we didn't book them. And during that like 9-10 days when we had nothing going on, we had 10 employees, and let me tell you, I wasted so much money on them, to be honest with you, because we didn't have anything to do. I mean, we would send them to go grass blinds, and they get done in 3 or 4 hours, and we're done. And I had a 25-page or 25 item to do list that was done in 3 days, and it's just like, well, I guess go take some days off, I suppose. I don't know. We ran out of stuff to do maintenance wise, because like my job and Sam's job and Justin's job and Grant's job, you can always be doing that, right? But like hand to hand labor, all that kind of stuff, there's only so much preparation work you can do for the season when you've been doing it all summer too, because we were just ready. And so yeah, that was a pain point, was just literally struggling to find stuff to do. But then on top of that, you're paying your mortgages, you're paying all of your stuff for all your properties, you're paying all your rents. You're still buying everybody food, you're still buying food for the lodge, you're still paying gas, miscellaneous expenses, you're still spending a lot of money, and your cash flow is not there. Those are when that time of year, that last year and the year before, was when we would find ourselves in cash flow crunches, because we would have all this money coming in October and November and December, I should say end of October, November and December and January. But we didn't have it now, but all those season prep expenses were coming in now then. And so you were spending all this money and you weren't necessarily bringing that much in. So we learned to have to save. You started to have to save throughout the summer, kind of like we talked about in the whole budgeting thing in the budgeting episode. And those cash flow crunches, you're paying for everything. I mean, you know what I mean? Just because the clients aren't there bringing the money in, but that doesn't mean the money's not going out. And the biggest pain point with that was managing that and understanding, trying to find a way so that doesn't happen. So it's a challenge.
I got a product question for you.
Yeah.
How has the cash flow management or reporting tool within Mallard Bay kind of given you a better understanding of that? Like
it's
when
great,
your cash
honestly.
is coming in.
It's great. It's great because like we have spreadsheets that do all that. Now I can just go to Mallard Bay and go, all right, well, we've got $28,000 coming in the next 2 weeks or whatever. And I know, okay, yep, we've got that coming in. I can allocate all of that appropriately, and then all of our new bookings can go towards saving for this or saving for that or whatever. It's fantastic. And then on top of that, I mean, you can forecast that all the way out through the rest of the season. You can go, okay, well, I'm going to need a lot more money in March because I've got all these expenses in March, but I've only got this amount coming in. So we're going to need to book more clients here, or we need to save money from then for there, or whatever. It takes the whole spreadsheeting thing that I do and makes it, I'm honestly a little obsolete. It makes it just to where everything's all in one place, all in the booking widget, and I love that.
You don't have to spend your entire day in a spreadsheet?
No, not anymore. Not anymore.
No, well, at least now it doesn't make you obsolete. It just means you can put your energy somewhere else.
No, it makes the spreadsheet obsolete, not my work.
That's good.
I appreciate you guys helping me out. That's what I'm saying. You guys are putting the team on your back over here. I was going to say that the tools with Mallard Bay, though, they've been incredibly helpful for Grant and for me to be able to use the calendar and all of that. And then being a part of some of the design process or some of those other stuff that we've talked about, being able to give my 2 cents and kind of have things molded that help us, that I think would help everybody. I mean, I was a pretty big part of helping Coco Coco and you guys design that reporting tool. And it turned out better than even I expected, because when I would talk with her on the phone and we would go through all these items and all the ideas, I couldn't really fully see it because I'm just not visualizing it that well. But now that I'm getting to see it all completed, it turned out amazing. And like the calendar and everything that tracks the bookings and it's all really starting to come into place to being like a one-stop shop for everything we need for our back end of our guide service.
So like, remember that? Wait, hold on. I was gonna ask. You remember that conversation we had about like probably like close to maybe a year and a half ago or so, and you showed me your spreadsheet, and I was like, oh, like, can you send that to me? Is like that like was what I always had in mind. I was like, we're gonna make this easier for Hunter because Hunter does it the right way and tracks all of his expenses, tracks all of his cash flow, and then finally, we're able to build it. But we've gotten a lot quicker at that. I'm sure you've noticed.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's great to see. Like, and for me too, it's awesome because like, it's great to see like some of my ideas that I've been putting in, they're coming to fruition. Like everything's coming full circle, and you can appreciate that. I mean, I talked with you, Logan. I know Garrett. I think we've kind of talked about it. How the goal is to have it literally be when you get into that GuideTech, the widget for Mallard Bay and all of that, everything's just all in one place, and you can track expenses and manage calendars and send tasks and to-do lists and forecast revenue and do financial analysis. And I think he even talked about expense reports and stuff like that too. And like, it's exciting to see what the future's going to bring. That's what I'm saying.
Definitely. No, one thing I really wanted to hear really from you, because really you have the expertise in the industry when it comes to like financial forecasting and understanding like where you need to allocate your finances throughout the year. I don't hear much or many outfitters at all talking about that kind of stuff. I wanted you to just help explain to other outfitters that listen to this podcast, like why that kind of stuff matters to them, like why financial forecasting matters and how it benefits them and things that like you do when it comes to like planning for advertising during that time of year, because you need to book more clients, let's say in March. Well, now you know where your finances are going to be coming in at.
Biggest thing is no one ever wants to look at your bank account and go, oh fuck, like I can't pay for this. Biggest thing that I do is look ahead, plan. Like I start with the big expenses. Okay, I got to pay an $8,000 lease in this month, and I have to buy all these decoys or buy this house, and we have all this stuff we have to do at all these times. Break it down, break it all down and look at all the numbers so you can say, all right, I got to have an annual budget kind of thing where you see all of your data. And being able to have that, it allows you to never fall into one of those spots where you're going, oh man, I cannot pay for this. And if you, it's tedious. It is. It's time consuming. It's not exactly the most easy or fun thing to do, but it allows you to be able to feel comfortable. Like, you know what I mean? The way that I put it is like, if I have to go out and swipe my card for $1,000 right now because we broke something, I'm not going to be going, oh my God, how are we going to pay for all of this? Like, this sucks. I'm not getting mad about the expense. I'm going, $1,000 on a well that broke. Well, I have $10,000 in my budget for property repair. Swipe the card. We're good. I had it. The budget's already allocated. It's there. Good to go. It's not, knowing those expenses, it makes you feel a lot better about it. Like when we bought our container of decoys, it was, $50,000 going to wire it right there. And you're like, and then it comes back and it was actually 55. And we're like, you could be like, well, oh man, well, I budgeted for, 60 or something like that to calculate for taxes and all of that comes across when you ship a container across the ocean and tariffs and all that. But like planning ahead and then, but overstating too, it allows you to feel comfortable basically anytime. And then when you get that revenue, if you have extra revenue, don't go buy extra shit that you didn't have accounted for just because you have more money in your bank account right now. Take that money and put it in a savings account. Sometimes I even put our money in 90, 120-day CDs to make some interest on it too while we're waiting for it. Like I'm going to be doing that with our money we're going to need in June, July, and August for this next summer when we get into our dead period. I'm going to be putting money in a CD right now. And I don't know if you know much about CDs, but you can't really touch them. It's a great way to put your money and make some money and know that it's going to be there when you need it, but you can't say, I want to go buy this now and take it, if that makes sense. It keeps yourself honest and stuff like that. It allows you to feel comfortable, but to be able to move ahead, I should say, in the financial world.
I know we're about to wrap up, but this brought up a very important point in my head that, outfitters need to hear. Or need to hear your philosophy on it, is how do you keep yourself from intermingling your personal expenses with your business expenses? Because I feel like a lot of outfitters struggle with that.
I would say that for us as owners, we all have like kind of like an honor code, I should say, where it's just like if you ask yourself this question, food, gas, anything, you say, would I be spending this money if I wasn't working? The answer is no. you're going to use the company card. If the answer is yes, you're going to use your personal card. And then we also have a rule, even when we go to shows, everything like that, all alcohol was not paid for. We always Venmo back for alcohol, and like, you know, trucks and stuff like that. The oil change. All right. Well, you've been driving your truck for mainly company stuff and mainly company gas, so it's a company oil change. But if you're going to go on a 2,000-mile journey and you're going to come back and you need an oil change, well, we're not paying for the whole oil change because that's not a business expense. It's just you have to kind of create a system that you and your partners agree with that's just like a standard. And we've done that phenomenally well. We have zero issues with personal expenses under business expenses, or like misuse of business funds, I should say. Our guys are all very good about that.
Yeah. It's important because, you know, not everybody's great at managing finances, period. So when you start to intermingle the two, especially when you're starting out, right? Because typically, you know, sometimes people don't start with an LLC, which is a mistake. You need to open a company bank account. You need to put the money in there that's going to be for the company. And, you know, when you start to take, whether it's owner distributions or however, you really need to be strategic about how you pay yourself for those things, because then you may just kind of categorize everything as like, oh, this is a write-off, this is a write-off, this is a write-off. But at the end of the day, write-offs only matter if you are going to make profit.
Exactly. You write off everything you did, and then you know, your top line and your bottom line are the same number. Well, yeah, you made $300,000, but you made zero, and you didn't pay any taxes. And now when you want to go get a loan, they're going to look at your tax return, and they're going to go, $0. Nice. Pass. But
yeah.
No, the finance world it's a very finite thing, and it's something that a lot of people. I would, you know what I'd also say is a lot of people. It's not that they don't want to know what, like, they don't want to get into that. They don't want to do that as deeply as we do. I'm gonna guess a lot of people, you know, they literally don't know where to start. And I think that, you know, I'd say to those people, I'd say start by making a budget for the month, and then the next month, and then the next month, and start by organizing your income by the first month, then the next month. Go a week at a time if you need to. Really simplify it down too if you have to, just to get started. And then after a while of doing that, it clicks. It'll just make sense to you, and next thing you know, it'll be your second nature as long as you keep at it. If you get complacent with it and forget to do it for 2 months, you're going to get back to it 2 months later, and you're going to have a mess to clean up afterwards. It's just, you have to be consistent.
Awesome, guys. I think this is a good point to wrap up the podcast. Thank you, everyone who joined us for the GuideTech podcast, episode number 26. Whatever platform on, like, subscribe, whatever you got to do on that. Please comment. Feel free to message us, reach out to us on any topics that you want to hear us cover. We're getting into the really busy season where Hunter is going to be in the field hunting or in the office taking care of things while the ship keeps going in the right direction. So just reach out to us and let us know what you want to hear about. And if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure to share it with a friend. And yeah, we'll see you back here on the GuideTech podcast next week for episode number 27.